Soup season is here. Here's a brand new meal in a jar recipe to warm your tummy and warm your soul this winter. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. Welcome back everyone. Today I've got another meal in a jar for you. Now this is not a pressure canned meal in a jar. This is made with all dry ingredients, so you don't need any special equipment or skills. Why do I love meals in a jar so much? In a way, it's a lot like the freezer meals that so many of us love. Spend a little extra time today creating a whole bunch of meals that will save you a ton of time in the future and save the day when you don't have a lot of time to cook. Big batch meal prep like this also helps you save money by taking advantage of sales. If you find chicken on sale, for example, you can buy in bulk and create a bunch of meals with chicken. But meals in a jar have some distinct advantages over traditional freezer meals. The biggest one being the fact that they're completely shelf stable. Freezer meals often need to be thawed, or if they're cooked from frozen, then they're going to take a considerable amount of time to heat or cook. So they do require planning ahead to use them. And if you lose power, what happens to all those carefully prepared freezer meals? Hopefully you have a generator capable of keeping your freezer frozen until the power comes back, and you don't run out of fuel before then. If not, you're going to lose all those meals. Even if you don't lose power, most people who do freezer meals have an extra freezer or two, and it does cost money to keep those freezers running 24/7. Shelf-stable jar meals are not dependent on the electrical grid, so they won't be affected by power outages. Most jar meals are also very quick to prepare into the finished meal and don't have a very long cook time. So if you're caught at the last minute needing a meal, you can often have these on the table start to finish in 15 to 20 minutes. That also means in a grid down emergency, they won't use much of your precious fuel to prepare. Most people who utilize meals in a jar as part of their preparedness plan use a rotation system where they keep a certain number of weeks or months worth of jar meals stocked at all times, but also pull them into service a couple times a week or a couple times a month whenever they need a quick meal. And then, of course, they replenish their stockpile. Today's recipe is a creamy lasagna tortellini soup. I tried a recipe for this soup with fresh ingredients, and it was a huge hit with our family. So I decided to convert it into a jar meal so we could have it whenever we wanted it really fast. This came out great, and Mr. Wicked Prepared said it might be his favorite meal in a jar yet. Just like with fresh ingredients for freezer meals, you can also grab your dry ingredients for jar meals when they're on sale and create jars using those sale ingredients, and that will end up saving you money in the long run. I chose to put these meals together today because several of the ingredients that I use are on sale right now. Most of my dried and freeze-dried ingredients I get from Thrive Life, and their Black Friday sale that's going on right now has some amazing discounts on ingredients that I use in a lot of my jar meals. Stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll give you a list of my most used meal in a jar ingredients from the sale, because I do get a lot of questions about that. For this recipe, the ingredients that are on sale right now are the sausage, the tomato sauce, the garlic, and the onions. And the Hamburg is also on sale because you can use sausage or Hamburg, or you can use a combination of both, which is what I like to do in a lot of my Italian dishes. At the time I'm recording this, Amazon also has a great discount on the peppers that I use in this recipe and a 5% off coupon for the heavy cream powder if you use Subscribe and Save, which is another great way to save money. I'll have links to all the products I use down in the video description. If you're watching this video down the road, these products may or may not be on sale. If you want to keep up on sales like these so that you don't miss any discounts, I've got a couple of ways you can do that. I have a brand new Facebook group called Wicked Prepared Prepping Deals and Steals, where I post sales, coupons, and other great deals that I come across. So head on over there, join the group, and turn on your notifications. I also have a text alert service for deals on freeze-dried foods from Thrive Life. So if you text sale to my number that I'm going to put down here on the screen, you're going to be automatically signed up to get text alerts right to your phone anytime there's a new sale or coupon code. And you don't have to worry, it just goes right to me and I will never share or sell any of your information. Let's get started and I'll show you how I put these jars together and then how I prepare the jar into the finished meal. Now, all we need today is a wide mouth quart size mason jar. And I'm also going to be using a canning funnel just to get the ingredients in a little bit more easily. And other than that, the only thing we really need besides our ingredients is some basic measuring cups and spoons. The first thing I'm going to be adding to the jar is some tortellini. This is dry cheese tortellini. This is the shelf-stable type. I've been using this brand, and if you have an Ocean State Job Lots near you, I've been finding this for $2 a bag. It's an 8-ounce bag, which is a really good deal. If you don't have an Ocean State Job Lots near you and you don't know where to get this, there is a Barilla brand, I think it's Barilla, that they sell at Walmart. I'll link that down in the description box below the video. And I also have Amazon links because I can get this Corabella brand at Amazon, and I think I can get the Barilla brand at Amazon, and it might even be a better price than the Walmart. I'm going to be adding 1 cup of the tortellini. And next, I'm going to be adding my meat. I'm going to be adding some sausage. You could use sausage, or you could use Hamburg, or you could use a combination of each. And I've got an ingredient coming up that's going to give us a little bit more sausage flavor. So even if you use the Hamburg, it's going to be just fine. I'm going to be adding 3/4 cup of the meat. So a 1/2 cup and a 1/4 cup. Next, I'm going to be adding some freeze-dried minced garlic. I'm going to be adding a tablespoon of the garlic. We really like garlic. If you don't love garlic, you could cut that down a little bit. I'm also going to be adding some freeze-dried chopped onion, adding a 1/4 cup of the chopped onion. And next, I'm going to be adding some tomato sauce powder. Now, this is Thrive Life's tomato sauce powder. It's basically like a seasoned tomato sauce, like spaghetti sauce. It's already complete. So this is different from using tomato powder. I actually prefer working with the tomato sauce powder because tomato powder itself is very strong and you have to be careful with it. This is really delicious. If you want tomato paste, tomato sauce, or tomato juice, you would use tomato powder. But if you're looking for a seasoned sauce like a marinara sauce or a spaghetti sauce or Italian style tomatoes, this is what you're going to use. And I'm going to be adding a 1/3 cup of the tomato sauce powder. Next, I've got some seasonings, and I'm going to be using some hot Italian sausage seasoning. Now, I bought these sausage seasonings for a couple of reasons. Number one, Thrive sausage is kind of a mild, neither here nor there kind of sausage. People will ask if it's breakfast sausage or Italian sausage. It's kind of just somewhere in between, and I think that's because they only have one sausage, so they make it kind of mild and nondescript so you can use it in either application. So I decided if I wanted a little bit more of a strong Italian sausage flavor or a breakfast sausage flavor, I would add some extra seasoning. So I bought these. Now the other reason is because a lot of the time I have a recipe where I would typically use sausage, either breakfast sausage or Italian sausage, and I might not have sausage, but I might have ground beef or ground pork or ground turkey, ground chicken, really any kind of ground meat. So I figured if I have sausage seasonings, I could use those ground meats along with the seasoning in any recipe where I would typically use sausage. So it gives me a little bit more flexibility. Now this is the spicy Italian sausage seasoning, and it does add a little bit of spiciness to this. We like spicy Italian sausage. If you're not into spice, they do have mild and sweet Italian sausage seasoning that you could use instead. And you can definitely see that it's got the spiciness in there. I'm going to be using 1 teaspoon of the sausage seasoning. Next, I'm going to use some garlic powder and onion powder. And I'm going to be adding a 1/4 teaspoon of each. So there's a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm also going to be adding a 1/4 teaspoon each of basil and oregano. Now with these containers, I don't have to measure. I can just do 1 click of my dial. I didn't have my onion and garlic powder in these containers because they're being washed so I can refill them. But I'm going to go ahead and do a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano and a 1/4 teaspoon of basil. And now I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Like I said, if you don't like things quite as salty, or if you have to watch your sodium, you can always leave out the salt. And you can also cut down on the bouillon that we're going to add in just a minute. And next, I'm going to be adding some diced tomatoes. These are freeze-dried diced tomatoes. I'm going to be using 1 cup of the diced tomatoes. Next, I'm going to be using diced bell pepper, and this is dehydrated bell pepper. This is a mixture of red and green. You could use either one or the other, or both. I'm going to be doing 2 tablespoons. Now, if you have an 1/8 of a cup measure, that's 2 tablespoons. I have one, but it's in the dishwasher right now, so I'm just going to do 2 tablespoons. Next, I'm going to be adding a tablespoon of chicken bouillon powder. Just use whatever chicken bouillon you prefer. And this is one ingredient. If you wanted to cut down on the sodium, you could cut down on the bouillon powder. And then the final ingredient is going to be some heavy cream powder. I'm going to be using a 1/4 cup of the heavy cream powder. And that's the last ingredient we needed in our jar, so it's basically full. If I was going to be putting this on the shelf for longer term storage, I would add a 200 cc oxygen absorber in the top of the jar before I put the lid on, and that would absorb all the extra oxygen in the jar and seal it up so that we could keep this a lot longer on the shelf. I'm going to be actually fixing this up tonight to show you how it turns out, so I'm not going to bother with an oxygen absorber. I'm just going to add the lid and the ring. And there's our creamy lasagna tortellini soup, all ready to go on the shelf. To cook this meal up tonight, I am going to use my butane burner just to show you how we would cook a meal like this indoors in an emergency situation. This burner does run on butane fuel. I'm just going to lock that in. Go ahead and get my soup pot. Now I'm going to go ahead and open this up and get it into the pot. Now I'm going to be adding 6 cups of water to this. Keep in mind that your mason jar does have graduated markings, and obviously the quart jar is going to hold 4 cups, so you can use this to measure your water if you don't have a measuring cup, and that would also help to get any last bit of powder out of the jar and into your pot. So here I've got 4 cups, and I'm going to go ahead and get 2 more cups, and this is going to be really full. All right, here's our last 2 cups. Now I'm going to give this a little stir, and I'm just going to get it right on the heat. Sometimes we let these sit a little bit, but there's no need with this meal to let it sit before we get the heat turned on. I've got this on pretty high because I really just want to get this up to a boil. I'm not going to boil it too hard because it'll boil right over, but I'm just going to get it up to just the boiling point, and then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer and put a lid on it, and it's only going to take, gosh, probably about 5 to 10 minutes once this gets to the simmering point. Now all of these little clumps of the heavy cream powder will melt away as this gets to simmering. I guess if I put a lid on this, it will actually boil faster. Okay, you can see this is starting to simmer, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this right down because I don't want this to bubble over. And I'm going to put the lid on. Whether you want to have a lid on your jar meal while it's cooking, it kind of depends on your end goal. If you want something to thicken and reduce, you're going to want to have the lid off. But if you've got pasta you're trying to cook, you're going to want to keep the lid on and keep the moisture in. And this, for example, is a soup. And so I don't want to lose a lot of that liquid to evaporation because we want to have plenty of broth left in our soup. So this is going to be cooking with the lid on. And I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and then we're going to check and see where we're at. We really are just waiting for the pasta to be done and soften up, and for the meat, because everything else was pretty much, you know, ready to go from the time that the liquid hit it. So we just want to assimilate all those flavors and get everything kind of assimilated into the soup and all the ingredients soft and ready to eat. I really wish I had used a bigger pot. Okay, there's our timer. So basically now it's time to see if the pasta's done and the meat. And if all that is soft, then I'm probably just going to let it set for a little bit, because a lot of these floating pieces, like the onions and garlic, will assimilate into the soup a little bit more. And that's what I want. I don't like the pieces all floating on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and try a pasta and a meat and see if they're done or if we need to let this go a little bit longer. I would definitely say that those are done. So I'm just going to turn this off and let this set for another 5 or so minutes. Okay, now it's time to serve the soup. Now the sad part of the story is that my ladle is in the dishwasher, so I'm going to be using a measuring cup to serve the soup. And there we go. It smells amazing. You have no idea. Okay guys, I hope you and your family enjoy this creamy tortellini lasagna soup meal in a jar as much as we do. This could also make a great gift or an addition to a gift basket. With any of my recipes, I always recommend making up one and trying it out before you make it in bulk. That way you can adjust any seasonings and things like that to your family's tastes and nutritional needs. If you need to cut down on sodium, for example, you could leave out the salt and adjust the amount of bouillon. Not everyone has the same taste. I did promise to go over the Thrive Life sale flyer and show you my most used jar meal ingredients from the sale. So when I shop any of these flyers, I always shop from the biggest discounts to the smallest discounts to get the most bang for my buck. Usually that's pretty much, top to bottom, left to right. It's changed a little bit, so it's not necessarily always the same, but definitely on this flyer, 50% off on the chopped spinach is one of the best discounts. And this is an ingredient that I use a lot in my jar meals and in my everyday cooking, because it's just a very simple way to add extra nutrition, and nobody's going to really notice little bits of spinach in their dish, very much. So if you have picky kids, you can add this into spaghetti sauce and things, but I love to put this in jar meals. In fact, this would go great in the lasagna soup. It could be a spinach lasagna soup. Kale is another one. If you like kale, if you like zuppa toscana or any of those types of recipes, that's a great one for jar meals. The chicken slices, this was one of the best deals on this whole flyer, because you can get up to 40% off. And this was, I'm not sure if they're still in stock or not, But this is the one instance where the smaller cans, the pantry cans, actually have a better unit price, a better cost per serving and cost per ounce than the larger family cans. So everyone is scrambling to get the pantry cans. They did sell out, and then they came back for a little while. I'm not sure if they still have them. But every time these go on sale, we always have people who will join as a consultant because they want that chance to shop early to make sure that they get some of the best deals. The sausage, that's obviously another one that's on sale that I like to use in a lot of my jar meals. And I've used this in everything from breakfast to lunch to dinner. And I actually even like to just snack on this dry. If you like to have low-carb snacks, this is a great one. Now the sauces, you know, we use the tomato sauce in our dish today. The cheese sauce is also on sale. And this is a limited time item, and so these are not always available. So I like to stock up on these when I can so that I have them when I need them. These can make great additions to jar meals anytime you want a cheese sauce or a cheese soup or anything like that. The onion slices, if you like larger pieces of onion, I use the chopped onions today, but you could use the slices. The broccoli is a great one. I like to put that in jar meals a lot of the time, and broccoli is one of those things that you're not going to have in your pantry in any other form. You're not going to get canned broccoli or anything like that. You might dehydrate broccoli, but it's very different, and it's not going to have as long of a shelf life as the freeze-dried is. The scrambled egg mix, this is another thing that I use all the time. If you do baking mixes, cornbreads, quick breads, cookies, anything like that, this is a way to include the egg in that. I've done quiches and breakfast casseroles and frittatas and things like that. Lots of different ways to use the scrambled egg, and of course the pulled pork. Anytime you can get a deal on your meats, that is a great thing to jump on because they're great in jar meals, and that's one place where even if you try using dehydrated vegetables, you're not going to want to use dehydrated meats because they're going to really reduce the shelf life on your jar meal. And of course, there's the tomato sauce that we use today. Like I said, the sauces are great for jar meals, and the garlic. And these are the regular November delivery specials that are on sale all month long. And so of course, they're also on sale during Black Friday. This was kind of like early Black Friday deals. And the corn and the butternut squash and the chopped onions are actually all things I use a lot in jar meals. And then of course the ground beef. Actually the instant milk, the cheddar cheese, these are actually all really great items for jar meals. And a lot of these other items, they're great items, but they're just not necessarily things I use a lot in meals. Peaches, strawberries, some of the fruits and yogurts and things that are over here, I use those in sometimes desserts in a jar, and I use them in smoothies and just all kinds of desserts, but not necessarily in jar meals. The green peppers is another one. I use the green peppers in a lot of meals, and that is up to 45% off, so that's another great one to grab. And really any of the green veggies, whatever you like. They've got green beans, they've got green peas, they've got zucchini. Of course, I mentioned the broccoli. Whatever your favorite green veggies are, because usually you can substitute any of the different veggies in any meal. Just use what you have and use what you like. So that's just a really quick look at my most used ingredients out of the ingredients that are on sale, because that's what I get a lot of questions about. I know a lot of you, if you are jar meal fans, I know a lot of you have already taken advantage of the sale, and that's awesome. If you haven't, the sale is going on through the end of Cyber Monday. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me an Italian flag down in the comments, and check out this video next for some more jar meals with an Italian flair. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.